Have you ever felt a quiet pull inside you, a whisper that doesn't come from the world you see, but from somewhere just beyond it? That tug isn't fantasy. It's a memory from a reality waiting for you to remember it. There's a frequency already calling your name, not from the future, but from a layer of existence vibrating beside this one, just beyond your everyday awareness. It doesn't shout over your doubts, yet its tone is unmistakably pure. It's not urgent, but it never stops reaching for you. Every time you've sensed a flash of yourself that felt more you than anything you've lived before, a glimpse of freedom, abundance, love, clarity, that wasn't imagination. That was reception. You didn't invent it. You intercepted it. Because the truth is, the version of life you desire isn't somewhere far ahead. It already exists, humming quietly on another wavelength. Most people believe they must build their dream from nothing, as if it doesn't exist until their effort creates it. So they chase, affirm, visualize, and push forward, trying to move from here to there. But what if there is just another layer of here you haven't tuned into yet? Imagine your life as a vast radio, every potential version of your existence already broadcasting on its own channel. You are not the signal, you are the antenna. What you receive depends entirely on your vibration. Somewhere within the quantum field, a version of you already holds the peace, the clarity, the power you've been searching for. They are not a dream, they are a vibration, real, encoded into the living fabric of consciousness itself. Every flicker of stillness, every wave of understanding, every spontaneous alignment you've ever felt, it wasn't coincidence, it was contact. For a moment you match frequencies, and in that resonance, something ancient inside you remembered. You don't have to become that version, you only have to tune in. Tuning in, though, asks more than desire. It asks for stillness, for the courage to stop reacting to what already is, the noise, the fear, the endless motion, and start attuning to what could be. Most people try to transform their world by changing their surroundings. But within the quantum field, that's backwards. The world doesn't change first, you do. Your frequency shifts, and reality rearranges itself to match. You don't pull life toward you. You pull yourself into harmony, and the field mirrors that coherence. Physicist David Bohm once described a hidden order beneath all things. A realm where every possibility already exists, folded within the hologram of reality. In that order, nothing is separate, and everything that appears is simply unfolding from the unseen. The life you long for isn't in your future. It's nested within you, waiting for your frequency to release it. Some call it the vortex, others call it the implicate field. The name doesn't matter, the truth remains. You're not chasing your future, you're remembering how to receive it. Yet here's the paradox. If it already exists, why can't you feel it? Why can't you see it? Because the world taught you to listen only to what's loud. The voices of fear, bills, expectations, noise. But the timeline of your becoming speaks in whispers. It waits for silence. It speaks in tone, not language. And the longer you cling to the static of who you once were, the harder it becomes to hear the melody of who you already are. But once you hear it, even once, you can never unhear it. You begin to notice when things are off-key, a conversation, a habit, a decision that no longer belongs to your new frequency. At first, this feels uncomfortable, like losing parts of yourself, familiarity, identity, false safety. But what you're really losing is interference, and what takes its place is clarity. I once worked with a woman named Eva. For 10 years, she searched for her purpose. Retreats, workshops, endless courses. She did everything right, yet nothing clicked. Then one day during meditation, something shifted. Not a thought, a vibration. Her whole being began to hum on a different wavelength, one she didn't recognize yet somehow remembered. And in that moment, a single phrase rose from the quiet. "You're not lost. You're just out of tune." That single sentence changed everything. From that day, Eva stopped searching and began to listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet pulse inside her field. She started choosing not by logic, but by vibration. And within weeks, the purpose she'd chased for years unfolded before her. It didn't arrive as a title or task, but as a state of being. She didn't find her calling, she resonated with it. Because the field doesn't respond to effort, it responds to harmony. So ask yourself, what frequency are you tuned into? And is it even yours? Are you aligned with a future that truly calls you, or just replaying a signal inherited from your past? Every thought, every emotional reflex, every familiar reaction is a dial. Yet most people never touch it. They decorate their static, polish their cages, try to feel better inside the noise. But the real transformation begins when you realize you are not the song. You are the receiver, and receivers can be retuned. As we move forward, we'll begin to unravel the illusion that you must make it happen. You don't. The reality you seek has always been here, vibrant, alive, already complete. When you learn to tune not with your mind, but with your state of being, the shift becomes effortless. Because you're not moving toward your future, you're collapsing into it. And once you touch that truth, you'll never settle for static again. You were taught to believe there is only one you, a single identity traveling linearly through time, making choices that shape one outcome. But that is a distortion, a simplification for survival, not for expansion. In the realm of quantum reality, the self isn't a point, it's a field, an infinite spectrum of versions of you, each vibrating at its own frequency, each existing simultaneously within the multiverse of possibility. These aren't fantasies, they are potentials, entangled, measurable, alive. Physicist David Bohm saw beyond equations and particles into what he called the implicate order, a deeper dimension where all realities rest, folded within each other like holograms of light. What we call the physical world is merely the visible unfolding of that unseen depth. In that order, time dissolves, separation disappears, and consciousness isn't a byproduct of matter. It is the medium shaping matter itself. This changes everything. Because if consciousness is part of that infinite field, you're not moving through time. You're tuning through it. Every decision, every emotion, every shift in vibration is a selector, collapsing one version of your life out of the infinite that already exists. Here's where most people get lost. They think the past defines the future. But in the implicate field, past and future are woven together, responding not to memory but to momentum. The version of you that you long to become isn't waiting ahead. It's already broadcasting nearby, whole and awake. You don't reach it through effort, you reach it through resonance. Abraham Hicks calls this the vortex, a vibrational state where everything you've ever asked for, felt, or imagined already exists in readiness. Yet most people remain outside it because they keep vibrating in reaction to what they currently see. They measure their bank account, their body, their relationships, and call that reality. But in doing so, they recreate the same song again and again. They forget. The field doesn't respond to what you see, it responds to what you are. So imagine this. You step into an infinite library, shelves stretch beyond sight, filled with endless versions of your life. Some almost identical to this one, only a few details shifted. Others radically different, rewritten by a single new choice, a single new belief, a single new breath. The books don't compete, they don't move, they simply wait. And the one you choose to read, the one you pour your emotion into, becomes your world. Not because it's the only story, but because it's the one your frequency selected. Every time you feel frustration, hopelessness, or tension, you're not broken. You're feeling the pull between two versions of yourself, the one you're living and the one calling you home. That discomfort isn't punishment, it's calibration. The field is trying to synchronize you with a clearer, more coherent you. But most people misread discomfort as danger. They run from it, numb it, silence it, and in doing so, they silence the compass itself. Because what you resist doesn't disappear, it echoes. Not to torment you, but to mirror you. The field doesn't lie, it only reflects. So how do you shift into the version of reality that already holds the peace and freedom you seek? Not through thought alone, but through state, through emotional, vibrational, and somatic coherence. Your body is the interface, your nervous system, the dial, Every time you align your inner rhythm with higher frequency, gratitude instead of lack, surrender instead of control, presence instead of fear, you begin collapsing a different layer of the field. I once worked with a man trapped in scarcity. He believed safety came only through struggle, that exhaustion was proof of worth. His mind was brilliant, but his body was wired for chaos. Then one quiet morning, a question landed. What if there's already a version of me who earns more by doing less? It wasn't a mantra, it was a signal check. He started walking differently, breathing differently, designing his days as if he was already that man. Within months, his business restructured itself, not because he forced change, but because he finally matched the frequency of the version that already had. You don't need to imagine a fantasy life. You need to remember the one that already exists in the implicate field. You don't need to script your future. You need to receive it through resonance, not resistance. But here's where the mind interferes. It whispers, I don't see it yet. I still feel fear. My world hasn't changed. That's because the mind is addicted to evidence. It doesn't realize that evidence is the echo, not the origin. Reality is retrocausal. It rearranges itself around observation, not time. What you feel in coherence now becomes the structure of what you see next, not the other way around. This isn't blind faith, it's field mechanics. The infinite collapses into form. The wave condenses into matter, and you, the observer, decide which wave becomes real. So here's the truth. You never needed to create your dream life. You only needed to stop maintaining the one that doesn't match who you are. Transformation isn't about fighting your current reality. It's about refusing to feed it with attention. The field doesn't require fixing, it asks for fidelity. The more loyal you are to the vibration of your chosen self, not in theory but in practice, breath by breath, the more reality begins to rearrange itself in ways that defy logic but obey vibration. Because the versions of you that live in peace, purpose, and love have never been far. They've only been slightly out of tune, and each moment of awareness brings you closer to their frequency. You are not imagining a new world. You're observing an existing one. Your attention is not passive, it's creative. What you look at doesn't just take your energy, it becomes your world. Most people stay trapped, not because the field resists change, but because they keep observing the same patterns, the same emotions, the same self, and the field simply reflects their focus back. In quantum terms, particles exist everywhere until they are observed. Only when consciousness meets the wave does possibility collapse into form. The same happens within you. Each choice, each reaction, each expectation collapses a timeline. Not someday, but now. A timeline isn't a string of events. It's a vibration, a living stream of emotion, identity, and attention woven together. When you operate from guilt, fear, or lack, you don't get punished. You simply tune into a frequency where those emotions echo back. The field isn't personal, it's precise. It doesn't respond to stories, it responds to signal, and your words mean nothing if your frequency tells another truth. You can't think your way into a new reality. You have to observe from the version of you that already lives there. Observation isn't about watching with your eyes. It's about embodying a lens, feeling reality through a new vantage point that reshapes the way you relate to everything you see. If you keep observing life as the one who's behind, broke, waiting to be chosen, then no matter how hard you try, you'll keep collapsing the same timeline. Because the observer is the frequency, and the frequency defines the outcome. Imagine standing before an infinite row of doors. Each one opens into a different version of your life. Not a metaphor, but a literal, energetic truth. The quantum field holds every possibility, each already vibrating at its own pattern. You don't open those doors through effort. You open them through perception. The moment you see yourself differently, truly somatically, energetically, you don't walk into a new room. You shift into it. One perspective fades, another takes its place. But to shift, you must interrupt your default observation loop. Most people wake up and immediately scan for danger. Bills, deadlines, regrets, unmet expectations. Their nervous system has been trained to survive, not to receive. So even when life is calm, they observe it as a problem to fix. Their hearts whisper, "I want peace," but their field broadcasts panic. And the mirror of reality, ever faithful, reflects more reasons to worry. Not because the world is broken, but because the observer is split. To observe from coherence is different. It means you wake and feel first. You tune your heart before touching your phone. You begin your day as the version of you who already stands in clarity, not pretending, simply remembering that she exists. Your task isn't to build her, but to grow still enough to see through her eyes, to let her breathe, choose, and act through you. And when you do, even for 5 seconds, the fabric of reality starts to fold differently. Conversations flow, synchronicities appear, not because you forced a path to change, but because the one walking it no longer vibrates the same. Let me tell you a story. Julian had spent years trapped in a job that drained him. Every attempt to leave was met with fear, guilt, and the illusion of safety. He kept observing life through the identity of the burden provider. Then one day during breathwork, he saw another version of himself. Free, calm, fulfilled, already living the life he longed for. It wasn't fantasy, it was recognition. And in that moment, he began observing from that version. He didn't quit instantly. He didn't win the lottery, but the fear loosened its grip. The clarity stayed. Within 2 months, the bridge appeared. Not from force, but from fidelity to the frequency of freedom. His actions changed because his observation changed. His vibration led. Reality followed. So what does this mean for you? The next version of your life isn't hiding. It's waiting to be observed. And the true observer isn't your thoughts, it's your felt identity. When the observer shifts, the signal changes. And when the signal changes, the field rearranges itself. But here lies the subtle truth. You must remain loyal to the new perception. Most people touch the frequency of abundance, then snap back to lack. They glimpse their power, then retreat into fear. The field doesn't punish them, it simply resets. Because the field doesn't follow intention, it follows coherence. And intention without embodiment is static. So here's your practice. Observe your day through the eyes of the version of you who already lives the life you desire. Before reacting, pause and ask, what would they notice here? How would they interpret this moment? What would they choose? Not as performance, as perception. You don't need to rebuild your life overnight. You just need to change who's watching. Because when the observer changes, everything they see must follow. And in the next chapter, we won't just talk about timelines. We'll move through them. You've spent your whole life traveling across time. Now you'll feel time move through you. Not conceptually, but physically. In your breath, your body, your electromagnetic field. Because timeline jumping isn't about wishing harder. It's about aligning so deeply, so truthfully, that the old version of you simply can't exist inside the new vibration. You don't visit the new timeline, you become it. And when you do, reality itself begins to reorganize around your signal. Most people imagine timeline jumping as teleportation. One moment here, the next somewhere else. But that's a physical illusion. In truth, the quantum shift happens first in perception. You don't move through space. Space moves through you. It doesn't rush because the quantum field is timeless. It responds not to impatience but to integrity. The frequency must stabilize before it can solidify. You wouldn't plant a seed and dig it up every morning to check if it's growing. You'd water it, trust it, and let the unseen do its work. The same law applies here. Once you've tuned your signal, your only task is fidelity, to keep choosing the vibration you've already claimed, especially when the evidence hasn't caught up. Because in that gap between alignment and manifestation, most people collapse. They measure progress through visibility, not vibration, forgetting that reality lags behind coherence like an echo in time. You are not waiting for your new life to appear. You are allowing your nervous system to normalize it. The field has already reorganized. Now your body must learn to feel safe inside the new frequency. This is where embodiment becomes initiation. When the old reactions try to return, the doubt, the grasping, the fear, don't fight them. Just remember they belong to a version of you that no longer exists. Observe them with neutrality, as memories of an outdated broadcast. Each time you choose presence instead of panic, trust instead of proof, you reinforce the new timeline until it becomes your baseline. Reality bends for the consistent, not the intense. A single moment of resonance opens the door, but devotion to that resonance lets you walk through it. So as you move through your day, hold your frequency like a sacred tone. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to perform belief. Just breathe from coherence, respond from stillness, act from the identity that already knows it's done. And as you do, the world will begin to reflect what you've already become. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped broadcasting the version that couldn't receive it. This is the quiet mastery of timeline work. Not escape, not fantasy, integration, alignment, transmission. You are no longer chasing your future. You are translating it into form. The field tests not to punish, but to verify coherence. It asks, are you who you say you are? Not through words, but through vibration? The test always comes disguised as the familiar. The old triggers, the old temptations, the old noise. And in that moment, you will feel the gravity of your previous timeline pulling you back, whispering comfort in exchange for your evolution. But the invitation is not to fight the old frequency. It's to remain loyal to the new one, even when the evidence wavers. The longer you hold coherence in the absence of proof, the faster reality reforms around your signal. Remember this, the universe doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. Your choices are its syntax, your emotions its punctuation, and your embodiment its grammar. When you stay consistent in that language, reality has no choice but to translate your coherence into form. So when the tests arrive, and they will, breathe. Feel the pull, but don't interpret it as regression. It's integration. The old world is asking if you truly mean it this time. Stand still in your new rhythm. Speak softly from your new state. Let silence do the translation. Because the most powerful signal you can emit is not excitement, it's neutrality. Neutrality says, I already am. It communicates completion. The field mirrors that certainty with precision, bending probabilities to match your unwavering tone. And soon you'll notice what once felt impossible now feels inevitable. The gap between inner and outer begins to close. The world around you starts to echo your new baseline, not through sudden miracles, but through natural alignment. People showing up at the right time, conversations unfolding with grace, opportunities emerging effortlessly. This is not luck. This is coherence. You are no longer reacting to life. You are conducting it. So hold your signal. Protect your frequency as sacred. When the noise of doubt returns, do not amplify it. Observe it, smile, and return to resonance. Because what you are tuning now is not just a timeline. It's a reality that has been waiting for you to remember. And once you stabilize in it long enough, the jump becomes your home frequency. No longer a shift you visit, but a state you live. That is when the field stops testing, because it finally knows you're no longer pretending to be the new you. You are. The field doesn't test to punish, but to calibrate, to ask, is this truly the version of you you're choosing? And when those tests arrive, they won't look extraordinary. They'll arrive as the same email, the same delay, the same triggering conversation. But this time, you'll notice something subtle. You are different. You'll pause instead of react. You'll choose instead of defend. And that single moment of conscious response, that's how a new timeline stabilizes. But there's more. You must learn to be at peace in the void, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. It's a vibrational corridor, a liminal silence between worlds. The old reality has dissolved, but the new one hasn't fully formed. Most mistake this stillness for failure. In truth, it's gestation. Everything is reorganizing, invisibly, faithfully, beneath the surface. This is where faith transforms into frequency. Not the blind faith of religion, but quantum faith. The knowing that the field is listening, recalibrating around your coherence. You don't wait in the void, you become in the void. You breathe as your future self. You rehearse their presence, You anchor their calm, not because you're chasing results, but because that's who you now are. The jump never gives you a new life. It gives you access to the version of you who already lives it. Remaining there isn't about performance or perfection. It's about vibrational integrity. You stop reacting from the past and begin responding from the field. And that response becomes architecture. And here's the final key. You cannot do this alone. Entanglement is essential. Surround yourself with those who match the rhythm of your chosen self. Community isn't just comfort, it's quantum reinforcement. Every time you declare your new identity in a shared field, you stabilize the signal. Together, you're not just collapsing your own realities, you're co-creating a new collective frequency. So if you feel the old you knocking again, understand this. You're not regressing, you're recalibrating. The system is verifying loyalty, not to comfort, but to truth. Are you devoted to the familiar or to the unknown that feels alive? Hold your coherence. Let the discomfort melt into clarity. Let the old self grieve its purpose, bless it, and walk on. Because the next chapter isn't about staying in the new timeline, it's about becoming the one who chooses timelines at will. That begins when you remember what you truly are. You've jumped, you've felt the shift, you've touched the frequency where everything you desire already exists. Not in potential, but in presence. Now comes the highest realization of all. You are not the one tuning into reality. You are the tuner itself, the signal, the antenna, the source. The moment you stop seeing reality as something outside to chase, attract, or fix, and begin to feel it as something you are constantly generating, you transcend the illusion of separation. You stop waiting for reflections and start becoming the light that creates them. All your life, you've looked into the mirror for validation, asking it to show proof of your worth, your alignment, your power. And it did, but always as a delayed echo. That made you a reactor. But when you turn the mirror around and recognize that you are what the reflection depends on, that's when you stop asking for signs, because you've become the signal itself. The moment you embody this truth, not as an idea, but as a frequency, the mirror stops being a prison, it becomes a canvas. You stop chasing reality and begin broadcasting it. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. Every thought, every emotion, every intention you hold generates an electromagnetic signal. Your heart in particular radiates a measurable field extending beyond your body, alive, intelligent, and responsive. It communicates with everything around you, synchronizing, reshaping, selecting which possibilities will crystallize into form. When your heart and mind stop fighting and start vibrating together, fragmentation dissolves. You begin living from signal integrity, because the field doesn't react to effort, it responds to coherence. So how do you live as the tuner? First, stop waiting for proof. Be the cause. Feel before it appears. Act before it's confirmed. Trust your signal before the world echoes it back. That isn't naive, that's mastery. Second, protect your emotional baseline. Stop letting the outside world dictate your inside world. Choose your frequency deliberately. This isn't suppression, it's self-leadership. You don't ignore emotion, you alchemize it. Third, stabilize your state. Build rituals of remembrance. Breathing, stillness, movement, silence. They aren't for performance, they're for coherence. Because coherence isn't a spark, it's a rhythm. And finally, stop asking, what should I do? Ask, what frequency am I choosing to live from? When you live from frequency first, clarity becomes effortless. You stop chasing instructions. They arrive through resonance. This is the way of the tuner. And when you live this way, something shifts quietly but completely. Life stops being random and becomes precise, not predictable, but orchestrated. You begin to notice that what you need finds you before you even ask. People, conversations, opportunities, they appear right on time because your field is ready to receive. This is not luck, it's coherence. You are not manifesting, you are mirroring. And the field is loyal, not to your desires, but to your vibration. So stay there, live there. Let the future flow through you, not run away from you. Let your stillness speak louder than effort. Let your presence become a frequency that instructs reality itself. This is who you are now. Respond accordingly. Because this path is no longer about becoming, it's about remembering. Remembering that you are not chasing timelines. You are creating them. Not searching for signs, you are the signal. Not waiting for alignment, you are alignment. The old question was, what reality will I attract? The new question is, what vibration am I broadcasting with every breath I take? And that vibration is already shaping your world. You are the tuner, you are the mirror, you are the field. Now live like it.